Welcome to the Overwhelm is Optional podcast, where each week we find ways to gently rebel against the nonsense that overwhelm and exhaustion are just the price you pay to have the life you want. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Overwhelm is Optional podcast. And this week I'm going to share with you my reflections on 2022 to prepare and dream in 2023. So this is all about starting where you are. So if you've been hanging around with me for a while, if you've read my book, if you've been coached by me, you'll know this is a big thing. Always start from where you are. And this sounds really silly, doesn't it? Always start from where you are. But that's because we can only start from where we are, but because we don't usually do that, we tend to start from where we think we ought to be. So it's judgment, blame, you should be further ahead, or from somewhere further back, so not realizing. I think actually those two things kind of can coexist. So I know this is true for me, particularly on my reflections over the last week, that I think my business isn't as far ahead as it ought to be. Listen to that ought, because I'm comparing myself to others. Catch myself there, being very honest with you here. And I also know that it's further ahead than I think it is at the same time. And so for me, the starting where you are is always neutrally noticing what's going on from what you can see. Now, this is why I love coaching. One of the many reasons I love coaching is that a coach will help you see more clearly where you are. But you can use this episode to coach yourself in seeing more clearly where you are. Of course you can, but it just takes some time. So it's up to you. So if you're super busy, you can just listen to this episode and just let my words wash over you. If you want to spend more time, you would then messy journal out some questions. But a lot of this, I think, takes time. And the problem with the way goal setting is done within organizations, within society in general, is it's quite a fast thing. It's like, we're coming to the end of the year, so I need to set goals for the following year. So super fast, or just not very real, not very heart-centered, just very kind of logical. What do I need to do the next step? Like life is some linear race to the end, which obviously it's not, because the end is death, and that's the aim is not to get to the end. The aim is to have a whole lot of fun on the way and to live wholeheartedly. So how can we do that? Well, by getting rid of some of the overwhelm so we can see more clearly where we are. Because when you get more clarity on where you are and then you notice where you are neutrally, so this is tricky because I'm going to invite you to notice what's good and notice what you don't want by highlighting some of the highs and lows of 2022 and possibly before. But the problem with that is that's not neutral, right? But we have to start with something. We have to start with noticing how different things make us feel, where we felt less energized, where we felt less like we were being ourselves, where there was lots of pressure. I don't know about you, but I don't do well with pressure. It crushes me. It's not good for me. It's not nourishing for me. It tends to make me close down and kind of withdraw just to recover. I don't like pressure. I don't need pressure. I have enough excitement about life to want to get out there and do stuff like record this podcast. I don't do it under pressure. I do it from sheer delight and opportunity and gratitude that you're here listening to me. Thank you for being here. So I'm gonna do my reflections on the year so that hopefully that will inspire you to do yours, but gently over time, so that you can do this in a more pottering way. So I know I've mentioned before, I've got a client who likes to do her messy journaling as mind journaling very often. She does both, but she really loves, I don't know if she's still doing it, but she did go through a period of really loving mind journaling while folding laundry. And that to me makes sense, because I know that when I'm doing mind journaling and pottering around, I will clean the weird things like light switches, the things you don't normally clean. Well, I do anyway. And that can be really helpful, just to let this episode wash over you rather than making it some big event that you add to your to-do list, because that's unhelpful, right? This podcast is always about removing the pressure, removing the overwhelm. It's never, ever, ever about must listen to that episode, must do that. Now, it can be helpful to do that, but only if you can do it without adding pressure to yourself. So one way of doing that would be to say, okay, so this series of podcasts in December from Heidi are probably going to be really nourishing. If you were here last year, I did the turn of the year pause, and I produced a PDF of questions to support that. I'm still considering doing that with this. I haven't decided yet, but that's really nourishing, isn't it? Because then you've got that there for you. But you could have seen that as I ought to sign up, get the PDF, and then that's another thing to add to my to-do list. So it's not what you do, it's how you do it. If you decide, right, Heidi's going to be doing some sort of, and I am, because I'm here and we're starting now. We're starting early because that's the mood I'm in. Heidi's starting her turn of the year pause. It's not called that this year. I'm just doing it with you, reflecting, celebrating, dreaming in the new year, finding out where you are, more information, getting to know yourself better, and then thinking, yeah, what do I want more of? What do I want less of? What can I let go of? What beliefs aren't serving me? Yeah, all that kind of lovely, lovely, nourishing, deep stuff. But if you make it into a thing that you have to do, it's not going to be nourishing, is it? I mean, it probably will be nourishing by the time you've set it, but on the way it's just going to be another pressure. And who needs that, especially at this time of year? Because this time of year can feel really pressured because the days are getting shorter and shorter in this part of the world. So obviously I'm in England and we're 2 weeks away from the winter solstice, which means that we have the shortest day, and because the days are getting shorter and shorter towards it, it always feels to me like speeding up. So when I was jotting down my outline for today's podcast, I wrote, we're 3 weeks away from the solstice, and then I realised it's a load of rubbish. By the time this goes out, you'll be 2 weeks away from the solstice. So I didn't know, what have I done with that week? Oh, actually I've done lots of exciting things, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. So this time of year can feel very pressured. Don't add reflecting on your year and setting goals for next year to your to-do list. Just see it as nourishment for your mind, nourishment for your body. As you listen to my words and you feel every cell in your body just settling, allowing yourself to be here with me and be present to what your heart is longing for. Does that feel better? Woohoo! Let's do this. So whether you are mind journaling, messy journaling, or just letting these words wash over you just for the time you're here, trust that that will be enough, and decide that if you want to do more with it, that will be because it nourishes you. Right, let's do this. So I'm really aware that there are listeners who are not in England or the part of the world where it's getting darker. So forgive me as I describe it in those terms, because I know that for some of you, the opposite is happening and you're getting to the longest day. But we've still got the turn of the year, haven't we? We've still got 2022 to draw out the goodness of and know what we want to leave behind as we step into 2023. So you could argue, well, it's an artificial thing because it's just a calendar, it's made up, but it's a really useful time, right? Wherever you are in the world and whatever you think about time and calendars, how can we make this work for us? So I've noticed this year that it's happened earlier than normal. And I've also noticed a lot of people are putting up, and us included, putting up Christmas decorations earlier than normal. And I think that's just because it's been a really tough couple of years, and just the sheer joy of putting up Christmas decorations, of putting up more light, for us in this house, the dogs already got their Christmas bandanas on that I made them a couple of years ago, and I'm looking at the cat going, why do you not have one? But of course he doesn't have a collar, but he does have some toys I made him which are stuffed full of catnip. And this year, don't tell Chomsky this, but I grew him. He knows I grew him the catnip because he found it in the garden, had a whale of a time. But I grew and dried him some catnip and have made him a little Christmas present, but don't let him know. Don't ruin the surprise for Chomsky. But yeah, there's a lot of nice things. So I was away at the weekend and my partner got out all the Christmas stuff. So that means there's boxes everywhere, because Christmas to Simon is a major event. It's constant. I just go with it now. It's hilarious. So this year we have a Christmas train God, it's in the middle of the city. Anyways, I think it's supposed to go around the bottom of the Christmas tree, which he got for some stupid amount because it was reduced by 70% at the end of last year. He's that kind of guy. He loves Christmas. He commits some time to picking up really beautiful, well-made stuff. There's nothing horrible and tacky. It's all beautiful, but I'm just amazed. There's a new doormat with a snowflake on it that apparently was reduced to next to nothing. Yeah. So anyway, that's what's going on in our house. There's boxes everywhere, but there's also the Christmas mugs are out and the Christmas spoons and the Christmas bowls, and there's just something really lovely about it. Normally I'm a bit resistant to it appearing this early, but actually it's just so nice. So nice to celebrate Christmas. Not so much in a religious sense for me, but in that, well, it you know, a festival of light in the middle of winter has been going on way before Christmas, and it's just lovely to me. It's this celebration of love, actually, of coming together with people, of connecting, of enjoying life, of giving, even though presents can feel overwhelming because there's that need to buy something that represents some sort of perfect relationship. It's just a nonsense, isn't it? I've noticed this year I've really challenged that, the overwhelm of finding the perfect present. I don't know if this resonates with you, and I've just gone, well, I can't find it. It's not possible, and this is what I would like to give, and how it's received is not up to me. And I just feel much better. I feel much more relaxed about it all. Not that I was like really anxious about it before, but I've always found it a bit overwhelming because I don't want to let anyone down, don't want to disappoint anyone. And then there's the whole Christmas card thing, which I'm just not doing. It's too much. In days before all of this interconnected technology stuff, I sent a lot of cards because it was my time of the year to catch up with people, but that's not necessary. I don't really like it. I don't really enjoy. If I'm not going to enjoy the writing of the card, I'm not going to send it. That's what I've decided. So I'm just sending a few, and I'm really pleased with that. So I'm just relieving pressure all the time in my life, and I hope you are too, because overwhelm is optional, only if you decide to make it so. I was actually talking to somebody the other day at a business thing, and they said, I don't think other people know that. What? So something really clicked for me about my message, overwhelm is optional, that most people don't know that that's actually a real choice. So I'm now deciding that I need to make that clearer. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice. You get to decide. It's a choice. And hopefully this podcast will help you make it optional for you, because that is important to me. Because how you are in the world matters. You impact everybody around you, even when you think you don't. And when you are less overwhelmed, you make better decisions, you have more time for people, you listen better, you're easier to be around, you're more yourself, everybody else can be themselves, and it's all just better. And imagine a world where our leaders weren't overwhelmed and made better decisions. Woohoo! That would be cool. That would be really cool. Anyway, back to today's episode and reflecting on this year. Now, I don't know about you, but I find that when I start reflecting on a year, other years come up, and that's okay. But I still want to so the purpose of reflecting on the year is to get really clear on where I am compared to where I thought I wanted to be, and also mainly to just harvest, to go, yeah, that was really good. I'm going to remember that, because rehearsal of good memories makes the memory stronger. But what our mind tends to do is rehearse, I'm going to put inverted commas, bad memories, things we don't want, things to do with shame and blame and guilt and panic. And that's unhelpful, because we don't want to keep those. And we've already learnt the lesson. What we want is more happiness. But the mind will obviously keep us in this default position of, just in case, just in case, just in case. And then we're just stuck in that just in case, that rehearsal of possible future emergencies. So the purposeful rehearsal of good memories is so good for you, so nourishing. So this is an invitation to look at your year and think, what were my highlights? What was really, really good? And I'm going to call them highlights and then call them lowlights. And then after you've thought of some, invite you to then notice them neutrally and take what you want from them, and all of it will then be positive, because you can say, I want more of that, or I've achieved that and I'm proud of that and I'm going to own that. And then the things that didn't feel as good, you can go, well, I don't want that, and what do I want instead? So all the things that you don't want to think about because they didn't go right, like the way you wanted. When I say right, I mean it's always about the difference between what we expect and what we hope to achieve and control, which we can't control. We can just set an intention and commit, which is very, very powerful and much more important than trying to control external circumstances to make us feel at peace inside. So deciding to be at peace, deciding to be connected to our hearts, to listen to our bodies, to act in a nourishing way for ourselves and those around us, that's far more powerful than trying to create a certain specific outcome, because that may or may not be the best thing anyway, and other people have agency and choice. So I'm going to invite you to just come up with some highs and lows by sharing mine, and then the lows you can go, well, that tell me the opposite of what I want. So let's do this. So if you wanted to write that down to do later, it's literally, what were the things? And also, don't worry about, I think we can get, I know that I can, and I know that you probably can too, get very fixated with, I must get all of them down, like there's a right answer. This isn't a test. This is whatever comes up, and trust that that's enough. It's an invitation. It's an invitation for more joy and less overwhelm. That's it. It's no big deal, but it's a really big deal because this stuff works. So let's do this. So some of the things that I reflected on this morning was the things that have become embedded in my life. So these became my non-negotiables. So on my journey of healing from burnout, of healing from pushing myself so hard that it felt like I broke, on my journey of healing and discovering that actually the job that I thought was the best job in the world, and I was really good at it, but it just wasn't good for me. So moving away from that, I've obviously discovered what is good for me. And this is good for me. And coaching is so good. I love coaching. And I'm a really good coach. And I'm learning to embrace that more and more and more. So these are about, for me, quite general things that are repetitive, but becoming more and more, becoming deeper, or becoming more acceptable rather than feeling guilty. Because I know this has been a big thing for me. When my partner goes to work, I can feel guilty because I don't have a commute. Well, that's silly, right? But it's there, and I'm sharing that with you in case you have that, in case you resonate with that kind of thing. Like, that becomes one of the, I ought to be more stressed, I ought to be more overwhelmed. Because one of the challenges for us in gently rebelling against overwhelm is that it's everywhere. Everyone just, that's what people assume, you have to be overwhelmed. So when you say no, you can then end up with, oh, but now I feel guilty because it's just easier for me. So I'm sharing that I struggle with it. I still struggle with it, but I hope by me being honest about that struggle, that will let you let go of some of yours, and we can do it together. So one of the things that I'm so grateful for this year is slow mornings. And I think I know I'm always grateful for this, but I'm so grateful for it. So I'm the kind of person who doesn't like being woken up. Like, once, very early in our relationship, my partner woke me up to give me a birthday present, and I was furious because I was away somewhere having a dream, and suddenly he woke me up. And even though it was a nice surprise, it was just horrible. And it took me quite a long time to recover, and I was really on edge for quite a long time. Never did it again. Never wake a sleeping Heidi. Just don't do it. So an alarm clock doesn't really work for me, because even though I have a lovely one of those, I don't know who they're by, you know, the sunrise ones where you get daylight in the winter from them, and they rise suddenly and they're supposed to wake you gently. When I was really, really exhausted, when I was in my career, even that would wake me up suddenly, because I was so tired that even though there was literally a half an hour sunrise, I would feel like I'd been jolted out of the deepest sleep. And that jolt was just not good for me. It's horrible. So in the summer, actually in the winter, I still wake up about 5:30. But then in the winter I'll snooze, and in the summer I might get up and go outside and hang out with my plants and yeah, just lovely. I like slow mornings. They're now my non-negotiable. So I'm celebrating those because that's huge for me. That's me identifying that matters to me and deciding that that's what I'm going to have. So my slow mornings go like this. No alarm, really important. Snoozing if I want to. Getting up and making a cup of tea, taking it back to bed, and then reading. And then just having that time to think, to wake up slowly and to set intentions for the day, to commit to myself first. So the morning promise is one of my tools. You can check out the episode on that. There's one that just teaches you that really in depth and does it with you. At the moment, I'm not doing it as a spoken, I commit to myself first. I'm just doing it. It's just embedded. And I've no doubt that at some point I will go back to saying it, because that tends to be my pattern, is that I will use my tools, particularly as I'm developing them, and then I will they're just there. And then when I want to upgrade it or deepen that commitment to myself or focus on something really specific. So if I was doing a really specific goal at the moment, that would be inserted into my morning promise, and it would just be spelt out. I might even say it out loud, but with my attention very much rooted in the body. So it's from a place of strength. I commit to myself first, to living my life my way. But this morning I didn't feel the need to say it or write it or even think it. It just was there. And I think that's because at the moment I'm going through this deeply reflective period. And so that is a commitment to myself, because I'm reviewing my year in order to take the best from it, let go of what I don't want anymore, and move into 2023 super excited. And I'm already excited. I'm super excited about 2023. It's going to be such an amazing year. I just know it. So that's what my slow morning looks like. And then just the getting up, and I get dressed if I want to get dressed, or I might work first. I'm actually recording this in my pajamas because it came to me in my head, and I find that the process of the getting up can just take me out of that creative place where I know what I want to say, and it's just flowing and it's there, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. So that's really important to me, that flexibility of morning. So what's important to you? So that's just how I'm starting my day. And then the next thing I'm really noticing and reflecting on is the flexibility in my day. So I'm not the kind of coach who wants to be coaching, like 20 people a week, this constant do. I'm just not interested. It's not how I want to work. And so I don't do it, because there's other things I want to do as well. So to coach that number of people at once and to do it to the kind of standards I have, I'm just, I don't know. I could do it. I don't want to do it. I'm not interested. And also I have other things like writing, podcasting, occasional videos. What else? Oh, writing blogs. I'm enjoying writing my blog at the moment. There's other things I want to do. And also within my week, I don't just work. I'm not interested. And what I really like is the flexibility within my day. So I know some people who work from home have very strict hours and they don't do anything else. That's not me. I'm not interested. I've raised children, and raising children when they go to school requires discipline. The whole getting kids out of the house with all their shoes on and all of their lunchbox, and I don't like that kind of structure. I'm just not interested. And then I was a teacher, so that's super regimented. So I'm still in a celebratory, rebellious, I don't do that anymore. Now I have a routine, but it's a rhythm, and it's my rhythm, and it's not the same every week, and that's really important to me. I don't like doing the same thing every day or every week, but I do like kind of like signposts, so it's a rhythm. So I always start my day with intention. I have these things which are nourishing, and I have certain clients who I tend to keep clients at the same time in their monthly or weekly schedule, because I like that. I like that kind of routine. That's a rhythm that works for me. And I love that. And there will be other things I'm doing which are probably the same every day, but it's a choice. And that I love. So I'm really, really grateful for the flexibility in my week, in my day. And I also like really messing around with the whole weekend thing. So, for example, last week we went to London midweek. It's just fun. It's just fun to not be doing what most people are doing. I like that very much. And I also really like during the day the time and space to potter. I think pottering, I don't know about you, but pottering I think is an underrated activity, because I think people can often think, well, pottering isn't active enough. It's not outcome orientated. I don't know. It's a waste of time. It's easy to think that. But I think that it's really important. I know it's for me to have non-outcome time, time that isn't about achieving, because otherwise everything is forward thinking. Nothing's in the present moment. The really beautiful thing about pottering is it's in the present moment. Extraordinarily, what I find happens is allowing that pottering time, lots of stuff gets done. Because pottering to me is that wandering from this job to this job to this job, but kind of naturally. Now, that doesn't mean these things aren't written down. It doesn't mean there isn't a list, but it's just more fluid. It's this kind of, I guess it's kind of similar to me as getting into a state of flow with work. Pottering to me is a state of flow for just wandering around my house, sorting stuff out. And during the pottering time, because I tend to be doing low-level jobs, my mind gets to sift and create and order things, and I just find it immensely nourishing. What about you? Do you need pottering time in your life? I find it easier if there's nobody else around, but I'm still known to potter if we're both at home. I just find it essential, actually. So that's another of my non-negotiables that I'm celebrating because it's fully embedded in my life now. I didn't have much time for pottering when I was very stressed because of the way I was working, and I didn't understand my need for things like pottering time. So I was very regimented in order to hold together a career and my home life, and to try and have a life outside of that. I was very regimented in doing everything, but I pushed myself too hard and then end up crashing at the weekend, crashing in the evening, and then losing the time that was actually my life. So everything eventually became about getting through work, waiting for a holiday. And that doesn't work for me. I'm not interested in that. And it was the overwhelm, the overloading of the mind, until my whole nervous system was just in high alert all the time. But I didn't realise that, despite my psychology degree, despite meditating, despite everything that I knew, that's what blocked me from understanding what was going on. I couldn't see the wood for the trees. The amount of times I said that, and I hired a coach, I can't see the wood for the trees. That's overwhelm, hey? Just blocks what you need from you. And it's actually not that hard once you can see. And then the next thing I really want to celebrate about what's been really good for me this year is still the being at home. I'm just so grateful that I get to work from home, that I get to be at home, that I get to actually be with my dogs rather than having dogs I love and then missing them all day and getting a dog walker. I just love it. I love hanging out with my cat. I love my chickens. I love my plants. I love my home. Just the being at home for me is now non-negotiable. I just absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I'm really grateful for that. So these are general but embedded highlights that I'm carrying on from year to year and just loving more and more. So I guess this practice is deepening the joy of these very simple but important things. And coming back to that flexibility, midweek adventures, there's something just rebellious about being able to just do that. And I know that you can do it if you're not in a job where you're restricted, like education. You can't do midweek adventures apart from when all the kids are on holiday. It's just different. But there's just still something lovely and rebellious. So last week I went to an event that I absolutely loved, and it was a GTD event, so getting things done. So David Allen came over himself, so he's the guy who invented GTD, and recorded a podcast and with Next Action Associates. So if you've listened to Miles's episode, I think it's 3 or 4 episodes back, that's who he was trained by and works with. So that was super exciting, because that was a room full of people who are all passionate about GTD, which is stress-free productivity, and I really liked the people, just like really cool people. So that was super exciting for me. And my partner decided to come with me, and we booked a hotel, and then we actually walked 20 miles over 2 days. I think it was 11.5 miles one day and 8.5 the other day, just wandering around looking at Christmas lights and Christmas markets. Christmas. So much fun. I absolutely loved it. And then the next thing I want to celebrate is the fact that I did that, which was exhausting. And then we got home really late. And then the next day was my surprise anniversary present back from October, which was also another late night. And I was fine. Now, this is revolutionary to me. If you've surfed the verge of burnout, or you've actually burnt out, you'll know that paralyzing exhaustion that you just don't recover from. Now, for me, I last week had, I think it was 4 nights in a row, or 3 nights in a row of late nights, and was absolutely fine. I didn't become a snappy, grumpy monkey. I didn't lose it. I didn't burst into tears. I didn't just shut down with not being able to cope. It was good. I'm really recovered. So noticing how much better my energy is, how much I can focus even without quality sleep, even when I'm put in situations which are quite overwhelming. So I've done, a lot of socializing, a lot of talking. Great. Woohoo for me. So this stuff works. You get to have the life you want by basically getting to know yourself and accepting yourself, and then setting things up, making minor adjustments or bigger adjustments or whatever adjustments, but coming from what you really want and identifying that matters. It's really powerful. So what was you want to know what the anniversary surprise was? It was so good. Oh my goodness. I had absolutely no idea at all. Even when we ended up walking to a theatre, and I still didn't know. And when the woman took the tickets, she said, "Enjoy." I said, "I've no idea what I'm going to." She said, "Oh, you're going to love it." And I had no idea. It was so good. What it was the film Love Actually, which is one of my favourite films ever, to an orchestra. And it was just amazing. The feeling in there. So Love Actually is a really nice film, isn't it? It's all about connection and love, and it's just nice. And yeah, it means a lot to me for lots of reasons, including the year it came out was the year I took my children backpacking around the world for 3 months, and we went to the cinema in San Francisco, and I think it was cold and we wanted to go somewhere warm, so I just took them to an American cinema because they're going to be bigger and different than an English cinema, and it was Love Actually. And yeah, I've never forgotten that. We laughed in all the places, different places than the rest of the audience, so that was quite interesting. But the first scene where you've got all of the people at Heathrow hugging each other, and that's just, to me, that's really moving, apart, especially after the last 2 years when we were not able to do that. That's such a basic human need and desire, and so important. So important to be able to fly and see your friends and family, to have adventures. The love and connection is just astonishing. And to me, being in an audience of people who obviously love the film, because that's why they're there, because they've probably seen it a million times as well, with an actual orchestra, which was just, they were so good. We were all standing up at the end. It was so good. There's just something very, very magical about it. The feeling in the room, everybody, love and connection matters. And when we hear so many negative messages about how everybody hates each other and all these labels flying around and unkindness, I don't believe that that's most people. I think that's a minority of noisy people, because it's not what I see. It's not what I saw walking around London. I just saw people, nice people, getting on with their life. Everybody was nice. There wasn't there's nothing terrible was going on. Everybody was just getting on with their lives. Lots of people were smiley. And that crowd in the theatre for Love Actually live orchestra, oh my goodness, everybody was it was just full of love, and I loved it. So that was an amazing anniversary present. How lucky am I that I have somebody who knows and loves me that well. Woohoo! That's to be celebrated as well. So another thing I'm celebrating is all the people who matter to me, all the people who get me, support me, love me, who I love spending time with, who I've laughed with, shared personal things with this year. I'm so celebrating all of those people. If you're listening, I hope you know who you are. You matter immensely to me. Thank you for being part of my life. What else? Oh yeah, and then after that I went off to visit my elderly aunt, which is always a pleasure. And then I didn't go to a party because I don't like raves, and it was a rave party for a very important friend. So I drove all the way there and spent an hour with her before the party started, and then disappeared. And I'm really grateful that I had the courage to do that. Previously, even at the ripe old age of 54, I'm still prone to people pleasing and thinking, well, I ought to go. I really didn't want to go. And just popping in and saying hello, I'm glad I did that, and I'm so glad I left. So that was really cool. So I'm grateful that I've set my life up so I can be myself, so I can look after myself, so I can nourish myself, so that it's easier for me to laugh, to have the energy to do the things that matter to me when I want to do them, to have flexibility in my schedule, to surround myself with people who get me, love me, nourish me, laugh with me, cry with me, are there for me, want me to succeed, want me to be happy. That's taken me a long time in my life. Maybe you're way ahead of me, but I think it's I know that I'm really benefiting from reviewing my life in that way, and that is quite a generalized, it's kind of generalized but deep, isn't it? So these things matter to me. These are my non-negotiables. And the last one is creativity for me. Being able to pull my skills and experience, particularly if I think about, so I raised 2 children on my own, which was really hard. But I'm able to draw on the strengths from that, on the resilience, on the skills, on the organisation, on the daring. I took them around the world for 3 months. So there are things there from my younger days when I was adventurous, and I can pull that into my life now and pour it into my business. So my final thing is that gratitude that my business gives me the ability to be creative in using my unique skills and experience. So, and also taking the skills and experience from my psychology degree and my career teaching and supporting teachers with their well-being and taking coaching into schools. So much there that just comes together, and that's such a gift. And that's what I think we all need, isn't it? That fulfillment where it's unique to us, when we're able to use our unique skills and experiences, strengths, perspectives, and then to be able to have an opportunity to develop within that, so that we just get better at doing things, that we learn more and more. That's a gift, and I absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful that I get to do this work, that I get to coach, because coaching to me represents something so deeply human and such a privilege and so exciting, so exciting, that it's so me, and I love it so much, and I'm just immensely grateful. So that's it for me. It's just this immense gratitude that I'm at this point in my life. So what I've done there is kind of do themes of things that I had wanted to set up over the years, but have taken me quite a long time to get to because I didn't know how to get here. And now I help other people get to that point for themselves. And then I'm going to just go through highs and lows and pull lessons from them. So highs are kind of, to me, like events, whereas the things I've just discussed are general themes that allowed these highs. But the highs and lows, like the single events, teach me more. So this might resonate with you or not. So for me, one of the things I wanted to do this year was have more mini adventures, and I feel like I achieved that. Some of them were cancelled. I'm okay with that. But for example, I did more walking, more kayaking, more visiting of people, that kind of thing. And I'm really grateful for that. We built the straw bale garden room. It's not finished, but it happened. That's huge. That was 16 years in the dreaming, and that was big. And I'm so happy that happened. I published my first book. My clients. My clients are my highlights. Like, you have clients where you're just like, yes. Brilliant. I love all my clients so much. I love clients that I'm not even working with anymore, and the new ones that have come into my life, just I love it. So happy, so excited. And then all else I've got in my life, I feel like on my list, I feel like I've already discussed in the themes. So clients, friends, family, animals, my home, my life. They are my highlights. They are literally my highlights. And all of those things are about connection, love, fulfillment, aren't they? So there's a big theme there for me. Woohoo! I wonder what will come up for you. I'd love to know. And if you want somebody to do this with, then just book a one-off session and we can go through this and get you set up for 2023. That would be really cool. So some of the lows, now this is interesting. So I tried to come up with some lows and I really struggled to find them, which is a good thing, isn't it? That shows how much I'm retraining or have retrained my brain. To notice the unexpectedly lovely, to notice the things to celebrate. So I'm really proud of that. But I've got 3 small things to share with you, which I've noticed I've already turned into the positive. So I'm kind of trying to pull out the lows for you to see how I did it. So opticians and whales is the first thing. So I'm 54 and I'm short-sighted, and I've been avoiding the need for reading glasses because when I take my glasses off, I can see really clearly, which means that I don't need reading glasses except when I have glasses on. And this has made me cross because part of me believes that I should just be able to do some eye exercises, and if I spent less time in front of the computer, then my eyes would be better. I really didn't want to go to the opticians, and then I realised I was getting headaches and this is just stupid. So I went to the opticians last week and I had the most nourishing experience. So this optician was obviously been practicing for a long time. He was so helpful and just brilliant. So now I know my eyes are super healthy. I do need varifocals. I'm okay with that now. I get to keep the glasses I've already got, which is important to me because I really like them. They're slightly funky. It took me a while to find them. And also, I asked him about whether you can do eye exercises that would help. Now, I still think there's a good reason to do eye exercises, as in get off the computer, get outside, gaze into the distance, look at beautiful things, relax your eyes, all of that. But what was really, really interesting is he drew me a picture of the eye and he explained that the reason we become long-sighted, I don't know about the short-sighted bit, but the reason we become long-sighted as we get older is that in all mammals, the lens of the eye continues to grow, and that makes it impossible for the muscles of the eye to focus it on the immediate side, apparently. Anyway, what was really interesting was, well, first of all, that just stopped me feeling like it got rid of some oughts there. And secondly, I learned about whales. So apparently how they age a beach whale is by looking at the size of the lens in the eye. So I just thought I'd share that with you because that was just cool for me. But can you notice how I've already turned what felt like a low to me, needing varifocals, I've turned it around already. So this for me was about self-acceptance, about the fact that I'm getting older. I can't solve everything. I can't, I don't know how to. I'm sure there are eye exercises I could do, but they just get added to my list and they were just a pressure. And now I'm going to get varifocals and I'm going to be able to see better. And this is a very good thing, because when I pick my dogs up, if I've got my glasses on, they're out of focus and I want to be able to look at their little faces because I love them. And that matters to me. Plus the whole reading labels in the supermarket so that I don't eat I don't eat peanuts. And a million other ways. It would just be nice and easier to work with the right glasses on. I haven't been for years. But yeah, I realised that was emotionally difficult for me, and now I'm just got this relief. Like, this is who I am. Heidi, you're 54 now. And that's okay, because I'm super healthy. Another real low point of my year, and you might laugh at this, but I know you won't, because I know that you're also soft and sensitive and big-hearted, or at least some of you, probably most of you are. My chicken went missing for 3 days in the summer, and it really upset me. So one of my bantams is called Blue from Jurassic Park, because bantams are quite like dinosaurs. And she just disappeared, and I couldn't see any evidence of her having been taken by a badger or anything like that. And I didn't understand it. And I really strongly believed that she was okay, but I couldn't reach her. And that really upset me. And I thought I could hear her, but I couldn't reach her. And when each day went by and she hadn't turned up, I was just like, well, maybe I just have to accept that she has disappeared. Like, I don't know how. It didn't make any sense. There wasn't an escape hole. There wasn't evidence of a badger. None of it made sense. And I was really upset. I really missed her. And I didn't know what to do. And there's nothing you can do, is there? And to me, it doesn't get easier as I get older and I've lost more animals. I love my animals. I feel very connected to them. But the good news is she turned up. She was in the one part of the garden that I hadn't checked, a very, very low hedge. And she was sitting on 13 eggs and just wanted to have babies. So that's when I got some eggs and let her sit on them. And now we have the lovely, delightful baby Florence Highlander, who is now nearly a pullet. She will be a pullet is when they're 12 weeks and they're ready to lay. And she is 2 weeks away in a bit. By the time this goes out, she's a couple of weeks away from being a pullet. And we could possibly get a mini egg for Christmas. Unlikely because it's too dark. But so that was a genuinely low point. I was devastated. So I don't know what I'd do with that, as in there's not much I can do to change that. It happened. But what did I learn? That I have a big heart. I'm quite soft. I'm very soft and sensitive. And how can I accept that more about myself, maybe? I don't know yet. I haven't yet done anything. I'm just, that was one of the things that came up preparing for this podcast. And I expect more lows might come up. But what was really interesting for me is when I went to list my highs and lows, I really struggled to find the lows. And I'm so damn proud of that. That is me working on my mind to turn things around and to focus on what is good and what I want more of, and to release the stuff that just used to come up constantly, the fear, the overwhelm, the exhaustion, the anxiety, just letting go of stuff. And it works because I really struggled to find lows. So the other low I would like to share is the business roller coaster. So not the business roller coaster, but the times in the year when I've identified and got onto the roller coaster. So there's a difference. So if any of you are in business, which I know lots of you are, particularly in the early stages, but probably at all stages of business, but particularly in the early stages, there's a real roller coaster until you become established. And because I know one of the reasons that this has felt very intense for me is that I lost so much confidence when I burnt out. I just lost all my confidence, and there's no way I could have gone from the low I felt into coaching, because I just felt like I was an utter failure. It didn't make any sense to go, particularly being somebody who was a well-being lead, crash and burn. That's like the most ridiculous. So when I set up my business, I didn't go straight into coaching, and it's actually taken me much longer than maybe was necessary to embrace myself and market myself as a coach. So it's been a long route, and the more I embrace my strengths, the more successful my business is and the more the income stabilizes. So it's income, it's marketing, it's what happens, it's selling my other offers, podcast downloads, blog, all of that stuff. Like, there's lots of metrics that we use in business to see how the business is going, although I would argue they're the tip of the iceberg and most of it's invisible. I know this because people contact me who I am not aware of, so they're not necessarily on my mailing list or anything, and ask to work with me. So in a way, because all of these things are irrelevant. So it's and this is the point, when I have identified with the metrics and seen that as a measure of my ability as a coach, or as goodness as a human being, or success as a business person, that has been a real low for me. A real low, because it's devastating. It's just like when you pour everything in, it's the same. I'm sure I don't know if it's the same, but I know for me, when I was employed, if I had a day or a time when I didn't get the result I wanted, or if I'd been criticised, something, that identifying very strongly with those things is not good for me. Who's it good for? Because I am not my business. and my success as a coach is completely independent of how many people respond to some content or an email or an offer of a course or anything. I'm still a really good coach, and to me the most important thing is that I'm a really good coach. Like, I can't say nothing else matters, because the rest of it matters very much, but for clients being able to find me, and also because I do more than coach, I also like to weigh in on the conversation and change the conversation around what success means and how we can live more. How we can just rebel against this heavy pressure and nonsense, this crazy exhaustion, overwhelm, pushing through, getting to the end of the day, getting to the end of the week, getting through to the next holiday, reaching the end of your life. Like, it's bonkers. So it's not that it doesn't matter, it's that I don't need to be on the roller coaster. And anytime that I've attached myself to the roller coaster and gone up, down, that has created lows. And that's what I am working on resisting. And the way I do that is by labeling the roller coaster. So noticing, this feels like a high, this feels like a low, neutrally noticing it. That's really helpful. So they were my lows, my highs, my general themes for the year, for where I am now, because reflecting is messy, it's never finished, but doing this focused reflection right now I found really, really helpful. I hope that you found my method and my reflections helpful for yourself. Please do share them with me. I absolutely love to hear from you. Otherwise, just enjoy pottering and reflecting, mind journaling or messy journaling, identifying what matters to you, what you love about your life, what you want more of, what you want to let go of, what are your new non-negotiables, what do you definitely not want in your life anymore. And if you'd like help doing this practice, this closing down and harvesting the goodness of one year and dreaming in the new year, get in contact. There is still time before I stop for my Christmas holiday. There is still time to book in a session to talk about working with me, or just to book in a one-off session to do this work so you can start 2023 woohoo with a bang. I don't know, with a gentle, rebellious woohoo. Thanks for being here. See you next week. Thank you so much for being part of this podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please do take a little moment of your time to share it, like it, etc., to help other people find it. And if you'd like to know more about my work, please go to www.heidimarke.co.uk.